Sasaki stopped a bullet. This was a fantastic little read by Tatsuki Fujimoto. I'm currently going through his book Tatsuki Fujimoto Before Chainsaw Man. It says 1721. I'm not quite sure what that means, but this I like this one a lot more than the first one, which was a couple clicking chickens. I just finished reading it, and at the very end, Tatsuki even says that this is his favorite one shot that he has made in this entire collection. He said that he got this from a manga called Suzuki Sensei, and that he thinks has had a sizable influence on the main character Sasaki Inside and Out. And there's also a little bit here where he said that he was trying to figure out if he wanted to do Earth or a meteor as the final scene in this one shot. And I guess I think now that I see, I'm not sure if that's Earth. I'm pretty sure it's Earth. It's kind of hard to see because of the color. It could be a gigantic meteor, but I don't think that's what we're supposed to imply here based off of how this ends. But if you haven't given it a read, I think you definitely should give this a read. It is, I wish I could see how many pages this actually is. It's not more than 40, and it's just it's just fantastic all the way through. And if I had like one word to kind of describe what I would think would kind of get this is it's very deceptive and how you think it's going to go. When I first read it, I was kind of like, okay, we got this. We have Sasaki, who's the main student right here, and he's in love with his teacher. Okay, so we kind of got this, child in love with the teacher kind of vibe. Something we see a lot in some animes, and it's kind of like a trope that we kind of get, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. And starting out in the very first panel, we see that there's Greek gods, all about mythology. We see his books that he has, and he ends up equating that his teacher, Kawaguchi Sensei. Sorry, I have it over here on this side, and I have my notes in front of me. He attributes her to the god, and we later come to find out that the reason why that he does this is because she ends up telling him that she's a god. But it is brought to the attention that I think that he's able to understand, the student himself, Sasaki, that it's not literal godship or not an actual god, but in regards to what his dream is. But I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. This is some information that you don't typically have until you, of course, get there. We see that he's in love with this teacher. He's having dreams about her, and he's picturing himself just having conversations. It's kind of this young, youthful love. It's not perverted, at least not that I see, but they are like drinking drinks together, sharing drinks, two straws in one cup, and they're enjoying their time together. And during all this kind of fantasy that we kind of see, he's of course daydreaming in a lesson. A gunman comes in, they call him a terrorist, and you can see from the panel that he's obviously in duress. He's sweating, he's nervous. You're not quite sure why he's doing this. You just think it's a typical terrorist attack. And we come to find out that he too as well thinks of the teacher Sensei, that she is like not necessarily a god or a goddess. He doesn't say that outright, but he is in love with her, and he asked her out during school, and she rejected him. And he was apparently really good in class. He had his grades up, and during that rejection, he was unable to continue on with his studies. He was unable to develop himself in a mature way. He wasn't able to take that rejection and actually bring forth something that would bear fruit. He instead let that consume him. And we kind of have these moments in between where he'll sound like he might be able to potentially be a normal man, but then he kind of gets back into his flesh. He gets into his carnal nature. He gets into the sin that is, I want her, she's mine. She said no, but I want her. And she ends up trying to act like she actually remembers him. She kind of like, I don't know who you are, but he says, you don't remember me. And she does actually begin to remember, but he thinks it's all ploy. And like, oh, you're just trying to destroy things, take control, you're going to pay for the crimes that you did. There's no way of you weaseling out of it. So he's too far down the rabbit hole, which you would expect if a man is in such duress, if he's in such emotions as he is, a high emotional state, to where he's going to come to her workplace and bring a gun to kill her for justice because she rejected him, that he would obviously not be able to listen to any voice of reason. And this jealousy, this hatred that he has, just it manifests in full form. And it obviously is the voice that wins over in his state of, just back and forth, having this fight with himself. And she said, I'll do anything that you want as long as you let my students go. And the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, oh, I want to have sex as a repayment for all that you've done to me in my life, for all the wrong that you've caused me. I was going to be a university student. I was going to be able to get a job. I was going to be successful because of you rejecting me. I lost everything. So we also, once again, catch a glimpse of like this double nature when he said that. And of course, I should also preface by saying he shoots the ceiling and the students are calling him a terrorist. He says, I'm not a terrorist. You don't know why I'm here. It's because of a crime that's been committed. And he tells them all to shut up. And he said, if you don't, I'll start shooting. So this is the preface that we have. He actually has a gun. It's loaded. He's used it. He's shown that he's willing to use it. And she says this because of what he's doing. And he's screaming and he's going crazy. And after this whole says it, and he says he wants sex, she says, I'll do it. Just let my students go. To which we see Sasaki, the student that has a crush on the teacher, say that I'm not going to let her be defiled by someone like this. He jumps up and says that he has no right and calls him filth, the gunman filth. And he says, I never let sensei be sullied by filth like you. And it's kind of like, it's the hero's monologue if we've ever gotten one. And the gunman also says, oh, there's no time for you being a hero. And why are you getting in my way? Why is people always trying to stop, me? This is everyone else's fault besides mine. And this kid is no different. And he points the gun at him. And this is just the full-on manifest of his depravity. And we would expect him to get shot right then and there, or whatever is going to happen. But instead we get a flashback. And in this flashback, we see Sensei doing a lesson about future plans. We've all probably done this at one point in our life where it's like, we got to have a SMART goal or what we want to do with our life. What kind of career do we want to go into? And Sasaki says that he doesn't want to tell her because every time that he speaks about it, he gets made fun of. To which she says, oh, it's fine. You can tell me, what is it? And he says the typical answer that we get from kids is, I want to go to the moon, be an astronaut. I'm going to be an astronaut, president, whatever. But he says, I want to be an astronaut. Others bully him, but she says, it's cool, whatever. You can kind of have this trust between, the teacher, being an elder and the kids. So she's able to get him to open up a little bit more. And he opens up. And we come to find out that his dream of being an astronaut is because his father died. And his father was an astronaut. And his goal was to go to the moon, be the first Japanese person to go to the moon. Well, he never got to do that. And he told his son that when he dies, his soul's going to go to the moon. Okay, so now we kind of have a whole full-on motive of why he would want to go there, on top of, it's not just some little kid's dream. It's I want to see my father. And he says, I'm doing this for myself to prove that he's there, or whatever else. You got this idea where it's going to be this lifelong goal. And what the teacher says in response after a moment of thinking is, I happen to be a god. Okay, we kind of hear this and we think, that came out of left field. Why would you tell a kid that you're a god, or why would you even say it to begin with? And he says, do you expect me to be, are you mocking me? You expect me to be that's stupid. And she says that there is not a 0% chance that this is the truth. She could totally be telling the truth. But just because, it's not likely, it's not probable, that it doesn't mean it's zero. And until they're able to prove it as something that can happen, you're never going to know. And the lesson here is that even though we cannot believe that to be a fact, just because it's said, it doesn't mean that the possibility is also not. And there's always a chance. So the only way to know is to simply go and see for yourself and make the discovery. So she supports him, and she says that even though she doesn't believe that his dad's there, I want you to change my mind, and change my common sense. And then after this, the bullet rings out. And in a 0% possibility to ever happen, Sasaki catches the bullet. And we see the title of the manga come through. This is the main point. This is where we're going to have all our attention. This is the big reveal. He catches the bullet. And of course, if you were there in the room witnessing this yourself, you'd be like, what the hell just happened? And he has the bullet in his hand, and he opens it up, and there it is. And he's not dead. He's standing there before everyone. And everyone's like, did he just do that? That just happened? What the? The gunman says, what the? And he goes, what happened? How'd you do that? He stopped the bullet. He stopped the bullet. Sasaki stopped the bullet. He caught the bullet. And in a clutch moment of how he's able to do this, and of course, he's just thinking, I don't want the teacher to, have sex with this guy. I don't want her being, depraved that way. He's asked, how'd you do that? What are you? What have you done? And he says, I am from the future. That is genius level thinking. And he says, since I'm from the future, I knew the trajectory of the bullet. And the guy says, that's impossible. You're messing with my common sense. You can see that they're kind of incorporating these ideas. I don't know if in the translation, this is something that people say a lot, oh, you're messing with my common sense, but that is the main theme, is you're messing with my, my logic. And he says that since he's from the future, he's able to do that. And the gunman says, since you're from the future, what is my future? What happens to me? He says, I bet I'm going to go to jail for 10 years or prison for 10 years. And then I'm not going to go to a job because of my record. And then I'm going to die and I'll die a virgin. And, I'm done. And he, once again, just, it's like it's literally like the divine shield. If there's a God here, it's on him. He says that you're going to be going to prison for 10 years. Yes. But when you get out, you're going to be able to get to Tokyo University because you studied while you were in prison. And since you went to the university, you're going to be able to find a wife while you're there. And after you graduate or whatever else, you're going to start a business and you're going to become successful. And you're going to have 4 kids and your kids are going to give you grandkids and you're going to live a long and, happy life. And it's going to be great. And this misery that you have is only now and it's going to be gone. And you're going to have all the hope that you're going to need. All the things that you've ever wanted to have, you're going to get there. But you are going to have to suffer for what you've done. But in this clutch moment, it's kind of like you're going to have to take the responsibility for yourself. And that's what he's saying. And I think it's able to be finally swallowed because of how he's able to say that I'm from the future and this godlike moment of catching a bullet, this miracle of catching a bullet. And he doesn't believe him, but he convinces him. And he's asking, what do I do now with the teacher? And he says, don't have sex with her, obviously. Save your virginity. That will make your future wife happy with you in the future. And he says, yeah, I'll give it a shot in prison. It's like, whoa, that's a masterclass in, stopping a crisis. He should be on a SWAT team in Tokyo. But instead, after this all goes down, we flash forward 20 years. Okay, so we skip the 10 ways in prison. Okay, sure, that's fine. What's this next thing going to bring about? Well, we see our boy Sasaki in the moon. He's literally inside of it. No, he's on the moon. I said the wrong word. He's on the moon. And he's talking to the teacher. And I thought he was talking to himself. And that's, you kind of have this half and half where it's like he could be talking to himself. He could be talking over comms. You don't know. And he says, was your dad on the moon? He says, no, he wasn't, but I'm okay with that because I'm the first Japanese person to be on the moon. So obviously his common sense isn't, his dad wasn't there. So we're just like, God, how is that crazy? You're still asking yourself, how did he stop the bullet then? If, this isn't like reality in this world. It's like, no, it's not. But he fulfilled his dad's dream. And then he asked, he said, how I stopped that bullet? It's been nagging me since it happened. I should have had injuries, but there's no injuries. And he says, it was your immense power that allowed me to stop that bullet, to his teacher, sensei. You were a god, aren't you, Kawaguchi sensei? And she says, I told you I was a god during our talk. That means it was me who stopped the bullet. And he says, are you mocking me? And she says, both then and now I can stop bullets. That's just common sense. And then it fades to black. So we get this whole correlation of common sense, what's reality, and it all neatly ties back in. And I just love that ending line where, it was me. I was able to stop the bullet. It's just common sense that I'm able to do that, Sasaki. I'm able to catch bullets. I'm able to stop bullets. And that's just the now mythos of this world is, this is his power. And I just love how it's all so neatly tied into a bow. You're able to get so much from this story, just in 40 pages, just in however many panels, however many this is, you're just able to get it. And it's fantastic. And there's a lot more sustenance here. There's a lot more of a feeling of a story, but it's a lot less crazy than the aliens coming in the couple clicking chicken story. This is something that can actually, it's not rooted in reality because you can't catch a bullet, but it's more believable. And it has a happier ending. So I really liked it. It's fantastic. I believe, like I said in my last video, I think he was like 17 or 19 or somewhere around that age range. He was young when he made this. And he'd later go on to make Chainsaw Man. So this is some earlier developments. We see a lot of complex ideas and things going on here. And I haven't read the other book that he quotes, other manga, Suzuki Sensei. I haven't read that, but he said that had influence. So I'm unsure how long it is. Maybe I'll give it a look at, peeksy here or there, see how much of the correlation from the main themes of that story ties into, gods and all this manipulation of logic. But yeah, it's fantastic. I highly like it, and I'm looking forward to getting to the next one. But it's very deceptive. You go into this thinking it's going to turn out one way and like, oh, it's going to be cliche, but it does a 180, which, I'd hope someone who's going to make a story would just go full on cliche. And he didn't do that, so it didn't waste my time. So yeah, if you like the video, leave a like. Have any comments, suggestions for future things I should look at to make a video on, leave it there. Any recommendations, suggestions as how I can make the video better for you. And I guess until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.